the whole origins of this program came about I'm going to say almost 10 years ago now. The carpentry instructor in Clarenville, good buddy of mine, Peter Trope. Peter came to me one day and he said, one of the things the trades is missing is some business skills. He said, because a lot of tradespeople, like you are well aware, a lot of tradespeople either A, go into business for themselves, they start a little mom and pop, maybe a rental store or these sorts of things. And realistically, they have no business training whatsoever. None. It's not part of the curriculum in schools, nothing. And he also said, if you're not out in your own business, you really might be supervising people or managing people. And really, we haven't done anything in our trades program either. So anyway, Peter and I talked about it. We brought it along to the college. The college then worked with the other colleges over in Nova Scotia and New Brunswick. So effectively, this is across Atlantic Canada now when we built this. So we built this program with that individual in mind, someone who is a tradesperson who says to themselves, I want to be in management, or they end up in management, or alternatively, they want to start their own business. So it's very much focused on someone who sees some management or leadership in their future. That's what this course is all about, okay? To bring you to that point and to fill in some of those gaps that a lot of tradespeople miss in their training. So that's the basic origins of that. So zoom it up. That was 10 years ago. So 7 years later, between going through all of the colleges and jumping the hoops and doing all the material, we've got a company in Nova Scotia developed the basic concept of the curriculum. Okay, what do we need to talk about? What are the major core areas? They did some research on that. They did some focus groups. And this is why we have 5 modules in this program that came out of that research. Peter and I worked on developing the content for this 3 years ago. So actually, this is the 3rd offering of this course now, and it's always evolving. So your input is important here because I'm relying on you guys who are out there in the field, who have the real experience, to say to me, yeah, it doesn't work that way, or how come you didn't talk about that, or that sort of thing. So as we go along, if there's anything that really doesn't click with you or you think that is missing here, let me know, and I'll make sure it gets incorporated in. Okay? So the basic program goal then is broken into giving you guys the basic skills in 5 basic areas. The first area that we're going to talk about in this program is human resource management. In fact, that's what we're going to start next week. Human resource management. I have found that tradespeople and general, don't have to be tradespeople. Anyone who goes into business, either accidentally or purposely, that's one of the biggest challenges they face is human resource management. And that's a fancy word for dealing with people, okay? And it's a skill that is rare to be able to do it well. And part of the reason that it's so rare is that the basic concepts of managing people are not taught, or they're not discussed, or nobody knows about it. Nobody knows about it. So when we're looking at the human resource section, this first 6 weeks, what we're doing is we're breaking each of these things into 6 weeks. So there's 5 modules, 6 weeks each, 30 weeks. The first one really deals with this issue of managing people. So human resource management is our first one. Then we're going to go on and look at financial management, which is, again, another issue that's not taught in any of the programs. And how do you look at a financial statement? How do you, what is a financial statement, first of all? And what does it say? What kind of information can you pull from it? That sort of thing. And if you're a small business person or someone who's looking at numbers for a company, it's important to have a little bit of a clue how to do it. And again, the average person is not exposed to that sort of thing. So that's one of the things we're going to be looking at. We're also going to be looking at marketing and sales. And again, another topic that it's not rocket science, but the average Joe who goes into the trade or goes into business has no idea about what are some of the concepts that they can apply to make that effort so much more easy. And so we're looking at that. The fourth thing we're looking at is something called operations management. Now, when I did operations management in school, I said, oh, this is a big, hairy subject. And it is a big, hairy subject because there are so many components to it, but we're going to look at the components that are related to the trades, particularly what tradespeople need to know in terms of operation management. And that will include things like project planning, timelines, production, how production should work, and occupational health and safety. These are real tangible takeaways from operations management. So we're going to look at that in that particular course. And the final course, the final unit, I'll call it in this course, is business planning. Now, a lot of people say, well, I don't intend to go into business for myself. But I would prefer to call the last course planning more than business planning, okay? That course teaches you the concepts, the basic concepts of planning. What do you need to do in order to plan something in order to be able to execute it well? And so it could be anything from running a business to looking at a particular project. So those are the kind of things that we're going to be looking at there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through this slideshow here today, not too long, and just give you kind of a heads up so at least then you can think about some questions that you might want to ask. And if you don't think about them today, that's fine, but you might have some questions as we go along. So our basic objective of this, why are we here? The whole idea of the seal is really geared toward journey people who have some consideration for being a business person. Either they're going to be managing people or managing a business, okay? So it's going to give you those basic skills to take your job, your position, and yourself to that next level. I'm teaching this course. I'm the instructor, but I have done this now for, how long have I been at this? I have been at this, I'll tell you, I have been at this business for over 30 years. And I am an instructor in a college, number one, but I'm also involved in a lot of organizations, including the town of Clarenville. And I'm doing the stuff that we're doing in here every single day as part of my role with the town and with some of the various organizations that I'm involved in. White Hill Ski Resort, for example, I'm involved there. So a lot of this stuff is very relevant to a lot of the things I do right now. But as I say, I've been teaching in the college for 30 years and doing course development and online instruction as well as live instruction for quite a while. And there I am at Placentia campus. So here's how the modules are laid out. Now, as I say, 6 weeks. Each one is 6 weeks. And the first one we're going to do, module 1, is called Human Resource Management. And just in terms of, here are the key things that's going to come out of human resource management, okay? Allocate human resources for trades-related business. How do you figure out how to put people into positions? What do you need to do there? That sort of thing. And then to think about, how in the heck do you find people to put into those positions? This recruitment, hiring, and the one that nobody likes, terminating. But that's a trick into itself, because if you don't get the right person, let's assume that you're an employer, you're spending $25 an hour on someone, you bring them in, and they're awful. Think of the cost to you. You're spending this money for someone who's not doing the job. You're going to have to get rid of that person, which is going to cause you grief. And you're going to have to recruit a new person. So you got to start all over again. So recruitment is a really big issue that a lot of people miss. And if they had some of the basic skills in terms of recruitment, probably you could avoid those problems, right? It's more or less an avoiding issue. Develop and establish personnel policies. This is something more of a management than anything else. But if you're thinking about, okay, I got to hire people on, what are I'll call it the rules of the game. The personnel policy sets out the rules of the game. Why do we want rules of the game? Because that way we can ensure everyone's treated equally and fairly. If we make it up as we go along, we could run into some problems, particularly with the law. And the way that the legal system is set up now for work, it could be very dangerous to go making it up as you go along in terms of costing you money if someone brings you to court or something for a wrongful dismissal or something like that. Figuring out lead employees, who could be a lead employee, what are management potential, and identifying the importance of something called the succession plan. Now, succession plan is really geared. We won't have the thing I judge on my student, where we are with this. If you're an older person, let's assume you're in your 50s and you're thinking, oh yeah, I'm going to retire in the next few years. This concept of a succession plan, being able to sell your business or pass it on to someone, is going to be more important than if you're just starting, okay? But effectively, a succession plan in terms of human resource management is saying, what am I going to do for myself, but also for my employees? If I were an employer and I know some of them are getting ready to retire, what do I need to do? So that's going to take us 6 weeks in. The next module, again, we'll get 2 modules in before the Christmas holidays. The next module is dealing with financial management. This is the one that I find, the feedback I've gotten, is the one that's most foreign to everyone because they don't deal with financial management as a general rule, okay? And we're going to look at this idea of financial statements because every once in a while, when you're a business person or a small business person, someone throws a financial statement at you and says, here's my business, here's where it is. And if you don't know if it's fit to eat or to be able to look at it and be able to ask good questions, or if your banker gives it to you and you say, well, I don't know anything about this. So the idea is to give you some background on what financial statements are and how they're used and how useful it is or how important it is to you to understand some of the basic components of it. This issue of collecting credit or getting credit, if you're going to start your business. So, Jeremy, if you're looking for money to get a business started, what are some of the things you need to know there? And a big problem, Revenue Canada could be your friend or your enemy. If you don't remit government-related financial requirements, for example, EI or CPP, if you don't send them along at the right time, middle of the month, the government will breathe down your neck like nothing else. So you need to be aware of what we mean by this idea of remittances and what the obligations to an employer are to remittances for the government. And finally, we got this issue of cash flow, and this is the life and breath of a company. It's like the dollars and cents that keep your business going. If you run out of money, your business is going to starve to death. It's like running out of air, right? So what can you do in order to manage this concept of cash flow? So you have an understanding of it and to be able to manage it. So that's the first 2. The third module, which we'll do immediately after Christmas, deals with the idea of marketing and sales. Now, I don't like the word sales because sales indicates that you're selling something, you're pushing something. But the basic concepts of marketing are applicable to every business, regardless if you're really selling anything or not. Because if you're in a service business, you are selling yourself, okay? You're not selling a tangible product, but you're selling yourself. So you want to understand, and Jeremy, you mentioned about market research. How do you conduct market research? What is market research? What are some of the pitfalls of market research? Pricing. What should we do in order to put a price on something? How do you price something? Market strategies, which is just figuring out how you can enter the market and capture as most sales as possible. Selling products and services. What are some of the basic things you need to do over there? And the idea of customer relationship marketing. The fourth module is operations management. It's the most meaty module because there's so many things, as I said, operations management. But we're going to look at some key ones that relate to the trade and businesses related to the trade. So inventory is a big issue. If you're a tradesperson and you're, for example, if you're, I don't know, a millwright, I'll be a millwright, and you think to yourself, okay, I've got a business selling tools. What kind of tools should you buy? How much should you have in order to sell? If you're selling tools, for example, how much should you keep in inventory? What are the pluses of inventory? And what are some of the challenges of inventory? Scheduling production, that's important for any small business person. If you're building a house, how do you make sure that the house gets built on time? This issue of scheduling and product, just managing the project is really a big one that people should be aware of, and some of the tools that can be done in order to do that. Estimating costs, job cost estimating is important if you're going to win tenders. Quality control issues, that's important. A lot of organizations insist on a certain quality control standard. For example, I suppose some of the organizations you would have worked for, Voices Bay or Irving, they have ISO ratings, and part of the ISO is to ensure that the workers have the certain skills to ensure that workplace is safe, dealing with health and safety. Occupational health and safety, manage meetings. Now, there's an interesting one too. What is the purpose of a meeting? How should you manage it? How can you get the most out of it? And organizing business information. And finally, this last module, really, it only has a couple of bullet points, but they're important ones. Strategic planning is the first one. Now, strategic planning doesn't have anything to do with business planning until you actually plan a business, because strategic planning is relevant to everybody and everything that's involved in business. How can you plan? Okay, the basic concept of planning. And then the second part deals with how can we use that planning in order to build a business? Okay, so that's develop a business plan. So those are the 5 modules, and they're nice tight points in them. And that was those points came out of the research that was done for most tradespeople. But that doesn't mean that we can't include more. If you got particular issues that you want me to address, you let me know and I'll make sure they're addressed. In terms of the program schedule, here is the schedule, tentative schedule. I'm assuming that everything is good with this. We're going to start the Human Resource module on the week of September 27th, and that module goes for 6 weeks to November 5th. The next module runs from November 8th to December 17th. The third module after Christmas starts on the week of January 4th and runs to February 11th. And from 14th February to April 1st, and then April to May. So this is kind of the layout for where we're going, how we're going to get there. Okay, so operationalizing all this, how do we make this happen? How are we going to flow through this? And this is what you guys were concerned about if you're away, for example, okay? Every week, here's what I've done, and this has worked well. Every week, I hold what's called a virtual class. We have a class. It's 1 hour each week using this virtual classroom. So you know how to get here because you're here today, obviously. So we're going to talk about the module, each of these modules that I showed you in here. I'll just pull up one. So for example, obtain and manage inventory. That will be a topic for that night. A scheduled production will be a topic for another night. So that's how that's going to work. It's going to be kind of laying out each of those topics in each of those nights. So it keeps it to a nice discrete unit, right? And I'm proposing that we do it at Wednesdays at 7 o'clock. Okay, but let's assume you're working. So, at this point, Jacob say, I might not be here. Okay, good. Well, that's fine. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to say Wednesdays at 7 o'clock. And it seems like, I don't know, Wednesdays 7 o'clock works for some people, doesn't work for other people. But I'm going to record the sessions. And not only am I going to record them, I'm going to tighten them up, record them. So I'm going to record them, and then I'm going to edit them so that the major core content is there in a video. Okay? And then I'm going to post it. So it gets posted the next day. I'm not that quick. It takes a while to work the system. But effectively, the material that we're dealing with that week will be covered in that class on that Wednesday. If you cannot make the class, it's up there in a recording, an edited recording, so it's nice and tight. And that way you can watch it at your leisure. And if you're away, let's assume that you have no internet access, well, you can watch it at your leisure when you get home. The way that I got the course set up is each module is 6 weeks long. And maybe I'm getting ahead of myself here. Yeah, each module is 6 weeks long. So that means that if you're on this is why I asked you, is it a 2-week rotation or a 3-week rotation on? If you're on a 2-week rotation, you're guaranteed to be home during some of it, right? Guaranteed to be home during some of it. And the rest of it, you can kind of cart it up and take it with you. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to record the session, and during each of these modules have little things for you to do. There's discussions, and what we mean by discussions is I'm going to pose a question for you, and you're going to answer it that week, okay? and a 50% online quizzes. So there's an online quiz at the end of the module. There's a little online quiz. There's no specific due dates on those discussion posts or online quiz. The thing is, what I say is get it done, get them all done before the end of the module. So if you're gone away, don't sweat it, because you'll be back before the module is over, or you can get it done before the module is over. And if you can't, then you'll talk to me and you'll say, I can't get it done because I'm gone. And I'll say, fine, that's good. We'll work something out. But the fact of the matter is, I've given you the full block of time in order to get the things that need to be done. So if you're away for a week or 2 weeks, that shouldn't really affect it. Besides that, I got printability added to this. So if you're home and you know you're going away, you could print off some of the stuff that we're going to talk about, some of the material, take it with you, read it in your leisure time. And when you come back, then you can look at the videos and you can do the online session. So again, to make it as flexible as possible for you, because I know and I hope that the people that are in this course are busy working, right? So they will make accommodations to make sure that you can get the material covered. That's my goal, is that you get something out of it, and we'll make it work for you, okay? Just a little bit more on these discussion posts. Some of you might say, well, what exactly is a discussion post? So in this piece of software, is a learning management system, is the fancy word for it. In this D2L, this thing that we're in here now, this program, there's something called a discussion board, which is it's like email. Okay, you post it up, everyone can see it. So it's sort of like Twitter or whatever. And effectively, I'm going to pose a question there. I think I don't know if it's every single class, but it's almost every single class. And your task is to write no more than I've got written on this page in response to that. So generally, okay, have you had some experience? I could ask you a question like, if we're talking about, let's assume we're talking about human resource management and managing people. I present a scenario to you. Okay, you got a difficult employee. What would you suggest? That sort of thing. Okay. So the idea is that you go in, you do the discussions, you put some thought into it. I'm not interested in lots and lots of content. I'm interested in you giving it some thought. So you reply to the message on different topics, and you can reply with your classmates. As you're moving through the course topics, you'll find graded discussions questions at the end of the topic content. So I put them at the end of the content, and your task is to read the discussion, think about it, and offer up your perspective on it, okay? So there's no wrong or right answer. You focus on what I want you to show you. What I want you to show me is that you apply some of the content we talked about to your answer. So that's generally how that works. And then there's this online quiz. Now, this is not a heavy-duty midterm exam or stuff like that. I want you to read the material. Once you've read the material, you can go in and do this quiz, okay? The quiz is directly related to the material. And usually, I think there's 10 questions. Some of them might have less than 10, but generally it's 10 questions that appear. And it's a multiple choice type thing. And I've never had anyone with any problems with it. It's just, it gets you to think, forces you to think about the material in terms of reading it carefully, okay? So that's how each one of those are assessed. There's a 50% component for the discussion and a 50% component for the test. And all of it is related to the core competencies in that unit. When we get into each module, you'll see each module will have a kind of a breakdown of what we're going to be doing each week. Week 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I lay it out, and I also lay out to you what the discussions are. So there they are right there. And you'll see it when you get into the actual module, that will be there. And I'll have that laid out. And listen, as I say, if it doesn't meet your schedule for some reason, you cannot do it in the time, you chat with me and we'll get that straightened away for you. Okay? So I've kind of laid out, and this kind of gives you a clear direction. Let's say, for example, week 1, November 4th to the 10th, this is just a sample. This is what I'm going to be talking about this week in the class. This is what I'm going to be talking about that week in the class, and so on. So the classes will match the content. You can track your progress There's the grade book in this program that allows you to track your progress, and you'll see where you are in terms of what you have completed. Your task is to get stuff completed before the end of the module. So that's what I want you to do. Is the module is 6 weeks long. Look, if you want to wait until the last minute to get it done, that's fine. Just get it done before the end of the module. And if you can't for some reason because you're working, let me know. Just send me an email or whatever, and we'll arrange something there. Technical support. If you got a question on the course, great. If you got a question on your computer and that sort of thing, call the folks at D2L, and all the information is right here, and you can contact them. Look, they're there all kinds of hours. And if you don't want to do that, get a hold of me, and I'll make sure I point you in the right direction, or I'll get them to work it out for you. Okay? Each of the courses, this is the way you go into your screen, and this is what the little course is going to look like. Up on the top, you'll see course home, content, assessments, communication, course tools. You went to communications today in order to go up to the virtual classroom, which is where we are now. But there's content in each of the modules, and the content is found here. And the way it is like this is a little table of contents down the left. And as you click on this one, the stuff that's in this one comes up right here. And the stuff that's in this one comes up, and so on. So basically, it's like individual little pages that you can go through. And right now, you're in this orientation program module. And I've tried to put some things in there not to overwhelm. In the main course itself, when we get into the actual programs, and I don't have it ready yet. I'm not that fast. You can see all the other courses I'm doing this term, so I kind of got myself busy, I'll call it. I'm looking for. Just bear with me while I kind of hunt for. Gotta hunt for. Okay, here, for example, is the operations management module, okay? Here's the operations management course that we're going to be doing. This is after Christmas, but they're all set up exactly the same. You'll see the same format. And what I do is I put little videos in here, which is a summary of the class session, the summary of the class session that we had. It covers off all the topics related to the course. So you'll see lots of little videos in there. They're normally less than 20 minutes long. I don't want to keep you too long on it. And if you want to look, for example, here's the content. And as I mentioned, here's topic 1, inventory management. And there's a discussion at the end of that. Okay, so here, for example, is a typical discussion topic question. Consider your business and what are the top 5 inventory items you would stock? Consider 3 potential suppliers. Where would you find them? How much inventory would you stock? Consider the cost of storage. So we're talking about inventory. You know, we've done our little discussion on inventory. We've looked at the material. Now I want you to consider, if you were a small business person, what would your business be? What would be your top 5 inventory items? Where would you get them? That's the kind of what I mean by discussion forum, right? You're not looking at writing a book there. You're interested in I want you to think about it more than anything. The thinking will take you the time. Writing it down won't take you, unless you're a seek and poke typer. But generally, the writing of it won't take very long. The thinking of it is supposed to take longer. And the little quizzes that you find at the end, as I say, they're all electronic. You will, I need to find one now. I need to find one. Mm-hmm. And it's not showing its face to me now, but what it is when you get down here, you'll see little quiz and you'll click on it and it will bring up 10 multiple choice questions. That's basically all there is to it. So that's where we are. So I'm going to invite you to join us on Wednesday. Next next week, what's going to happen is you will get access to that first course. The folks at the college will give you access to the first course. And as I say, the first course we're going to be looking at is human resource management. So next Wednesday, and I'm saying Wednesday because I just pick a date, anything is appropriate. Wednesday works good for me. I'm hoping it works good for most people. I'm going to come on here just like we're on now. We're going to talk about the topics in that first unit, and you should have access to the course no later than Monday. Any questions?
So whenever the module gets released, every one of those in that module gets released.
Yeah.
Okay.
So really, we're going to have 6 releases of modules. So the first module will be released. It's supposed to be released, and I'm guessing because I'm not the one who releases it, someone else does. But I'm guessing it will be ready, certainly ready for Monday.
Go with that.
Okay. Good. It might even be released now, for all I know. I don't know. But anyway, I'll find out. And when I find out, oh, by the way, when I find out things, I will put information in what I call the news section of the course. When you go into, say, for example, you're in here, this particular one right here now, that's, let me go to it. Right here, you'll see news written. I will put stuff in the news. So when you go in, this is the first thing you hit, and you'll see a list. It works sort of like Facebook. New stuff. The newest stuff is on top, and the oldest stuff is on the bottom. So it kind of scrolls down like that.
Are there any books or anything that we need to get?
No books. I got everything absolutely contained in here.
Perfect.
So you should be all geared to go. If you have any questions, you can email me, and easy way to email me is through the course. So for example, the reason I like the course is because I know it's dealing with this course. I got so many courses. Right here under communications, you'll see email, and it allows you to email. No different than a regular email. Anyway, guys, I really appreciate you taking a few minutes today to come along for this. So next Wednesday night, 7 o'clock, we'll get her started.